What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome to the Jonathan Benar podcast. And if it's your first time here, please feel at home. How's your week been? Well, mine has been great. Some really busy days at the desk, chasing deadlines and creating awesomeness as always. Just before I head back to the bush for another sprint. Well, today's episode is a rather unusual one. It was recorded at 4,100 meters above sea level, around the warmth of a campfire on a rainy and very chilly night in the mountains. And in this week's episode, we take a deep dive into the lives, traditions, and history of the Gishu and Sabinyi people. It might actually feel like a cultural discovery for some, and it might also feel like a lecture on traditional African culture. We're joined by Alex, one of the guides from Mountain Elgon National Park, a true son of the land who will narrate this mysterious story with its many, many contrasts. So go ahead and grab yourself a cup of hot chocolate or your preferred tea or coffee and brace yourself for some crazy, crazy stuff. We will explore the uniqueness of this mountain, which protects the world's largest high caldera and is still the world's largest caldera base. We will certainly talk about the ancient ritual of circumcision, as well as the more controversial subject of female genital mutilation, or call it FGM as it's more popularly known. Our journey of discovery will also lead us to the story of Kintu, who many know to be the first Muganda, but very few know to have been one of the sons of Masaaba, the most sacred ancestor of the Bagisu people. As the raindrops beat against our small iron sheet shelter and the sparks from the campfire fill the air, we will also learn about the linkage between the Sabinyi people of Mount Elgon and their Jewish brothers from biblical Jericho. This might actually interest folks like myself who are very interested in Asian traditional African practices, as well as those seeking to learn more about the peoples of these lands. I must leave a disclaimer though, the sound quality is not as crisp as usual on this episode. Of course, we didn't have the luxury of carrying our usual podcast setup up the mountain, but I guess it's in the rawness of today's episode that we will find some really, really great fascinations. So yes, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll have this and more after the short break. What's up, my beautiful people? Welcome to the Jonathan Benar podcast, a show that is wild, very wild. We are proudly Uganda's #1 conservation and tourism show, but we also benefit from a listenership from all across the African continent and the world at large. We try to put out a new episode every Sunday with discussions ranging around how to make the natural world a better place, creating awesome images, telling stories with words, wildlife films and photography, with occasional musings on sound and tech. If these topics fascinate you as much as they interest me, I promise you this podcast will have you in a spin. I do share a lot of my personal experiences, and from time to time, I'll have 1 or 2 guests on the podcast to have some very insightful discussions. So thank you so much for tuning in, and enjoy your time here. Alright guys, welcome back to the Jonathan Benar podcast, where we talk about the earth, we talk about images, words, wildlife films and photography, tourism and travel, and occasionally music. Thank you all for tuning in, and thank you so much for supporting the show. Now, I don't want to keep you waiting, so let's dive right in.
Okay, thank you for being here. I remember we are in a national park. Which national park? There are people living adjacent to the park, and whereby there are 2 tribes. We have Sabinyis and the Bagisu. When you are where we climbed from, those are the Bantu ethnic group called Masaaba, and Masaaba actually is the first ancestral parent for this group called the Bagisu. He was living up on the mountain. So all the people neighboring now, they were calling this, up to today, they call this mountain Mount Masaaba, because it's the descendant of this place. Masaaba actually had, where people are imagining that his father was called Muntu. And Muntu had 2 sons plus a daughter. One of the sons was Masaaba, and the second was Kintu, and Kintu is the one who went further up to Buganda land, and he became Muntu. When he reached there, because he traveled all along up to the central, he became a wise man, and people were wondering. They saw him being a very brave man, and they made him a first king of Baganda. Then Masaaba now, who remained at home, he lived here from that time until the time when civilization was coming up. So most people started descending a little bit to go to the Aloba land a bit, because when they were up here, mostly they were living on poaching, wild honey, until the time when they realized that it was not helping them very much. So by that time now the whites were started coming to Africa. So in 1885, when they reached here, at least they got some descendants of Masaaba who are still living up here, and they talked to them and asked them, what is the name of this mountain? And there was no direct language they could use it. They were mostly using signs. So they told these people, this mountain is called Mount Masaaba. And these were the people like the Jackson, and these are the people who saw this mountain from far away, Lake Victoria down there, and they aimed of reaching up here. So they came in the crew. When they reached up here, they had not got enough gadgets to discover the peaks, and their aim was to see at the peak. So when they reached up here, they moved for the first time in 1984 until they failed to get the exact peak. Because as we shall go there tomorrow, when you reach Jackson Summit and the sea, there's one on the Kenyan side called Koitobos, Sudek, then Mount Elgon, now that is Wagagai. They are all looking almost the same. So the mountain became very confusing, and they went back. In 1885, the same crew came back, and that was the time now they came with at least the modernized equipment like the GPS. When they came, at least they moved again with all these peaks. But finally, they got Wagagai as the overall highest point at 4,321 meters above sea level. In that time, even within the crew, they couldn't believe that they had discovered the highest point. Some of them said this is really mountains of illusion, meaning a confusing mountain. So after now, coming in concession that Wagagai now is the highest point. Then now naming these things. So in the group, there were the Bagisu, people who are living within this place, they were the escorts now. And at least they had some knowledge in it. So they debated. The white men wanted to name Wagagai after themselves. They said no. We are giving you Jackson. Jackson was Masaaba Peak. Then Wagagai, that is Wagagai. That is the name after the woman who was called Kakai. So Kakai, who was named after the highest peak, they only added WA to mean the mountain of Kakai. And we believe that maybe in the group they had some Spanish. That's why they have added that word, WA, but the real name for the lady was called Kakai. Then now Jackson, because they also wanted to show themselves that they also came up here. Jackson Masaaba Peak was given to the white man, so they named it Jackson Summit. So from then now, after discovering, people now started flowing, coming up here and continue. Remember, the mountain is being shared between two countries. Uganda, we are managing the largest area, which is 1,145 square kilometers. But in 1993, the government decasseted to one of the ethnic group from the other side of northeastern side. These are Sabinyis. So the government decasseted because they were living on the upper side. Still, they were doing minimum destruction to the park. And the government wanted them also to go down like the Bagisu. They decasseted an area of 6,000 hectares to resettle them on the lower side. So these Sabinyis were living on the northeastern side, and now Uganda government or Uganda Wildlife Authority is managing an area of 1,122.5 square kilometers. That is the overall. Then on the Kenyan side, they are managing 900 square kilometers. Relatively, the two tribes on the Kenyan side and Uganda, they are the same two tribes. So we have this on Uganda, the Bagisu and the Sabinyis. On the Kenyan side, still the Kalenginis and the Babugusu. Babugusu are still the descendants of the Bagisu, because their sister was called Sarah, is the one who went on the Kenyan side and produced the family of the Babugusu. So they speak more or less the same, but on the Kenyan side mostly their language is diluted a bit with the Swahili. Then for us on the Ugandan side, we say ours is diluted a bit with Luganda, right from counting and the speaking like that. So when this grew continue northeastward, the name of Elgon, the other people living on the northeastern side, they are people who are living on the upper side. These are the Sabinyis. They were living on the mountain. They are called Konjek. Even after today, people who are living on the mountain, they are called Konjek. So the name of Elgon came out from this tribe. Then on the other hand, there are two translations to mean this mountain. One, it is a Maasai translation, meaning the mountain is shaped like a breast of a young girl. Yeah, the way it is shaped is like a breast of a young girl. Not this one, the lying one. At least I will call it afternoon, still looking nice. Then the other one in the crew, because when they reached the other place, they were asking them, what is the name of this mountain? Because on this side, they call Masaaba. On the other side, they call Konjek, meaning the people living on the side of the mountain. So they said Kael Kony, meaning they are on the upper side of the mountain. So that is how the mountain acquired the name of Kony. So they also added EL just to mean the mountain of Konjek. Yeah. So on top of that, if I'm to finish, I can drive you to tell you that this mountain is one of the oldest volcanic mountain in Africa. We have other volcanic mountains within Africa, but Mount Elgon is considered to be the oldest, which erupted some 24 million years ago. Then that was the first eruption. Then the second eruption erupted 12 million years ago, according to the geographians or the scientists. The only challenge they are imagining, after seeing the way the rocks are shaped, they estimated that time, but we don't have proper documentaries to tell us exactly when was the first eruption, but they have estimated it to be 24 million years ago. So after the second eruption, it made Mount Elgon to be the 8th highest in Africa, the second in Uganda, the 5th in East Africa, and the highest in Eastern Uganda. So if I talk of the highest is Rwenzori, Mount Elgon, then Muavura. Then though we have others like the Kadam or Mount Moroto, those are still young mountains or small mountains compared to the three I'm mentioning. So after again this second eruption, it left Mount Elgon with the largest mountain caldera, which is a mountain caldera which is having an area of 40 square kilometers with a diameter of 8 kilometers. And all this caldera is situated on the Ugandan side. And there are several peaks ragged around the caldera. We have Wagagai, overall highest. We have Jackson Summit, which is 4,165 meters above sea level. Then we have Movi, which is on northeastern side, which is 4,215 meters above sea level. Then we have the other ones on the Kenyan side. We have Sudek, which is 4,301 meters above sea level. Lower Elgon also on Ugandan side, which is 4,301. Then we have also the last one on the other side. We have one called Koitobos, which is 4,222. I hope tomorrow when we reach up there on the caldera rim, the area of Koitobos is very high, looking like a bus shape. Then after again that, there are several features. We talk of the gorges. There are gorges which are now, they make it at the boundaries, the international boundaries dividing Kenya and Uganda. That is the Swam Gorge. We have the Wakaka Gorge on the southern side. Then we have Simu Gorge in Uganda and Sirongo Valley. So you can either call gorges or valleys. And then after that, all these gorges were benefited by the lava. So after that, after creating all these gullies, now there are rivers now formed following all these valleys. Then after that second, they also created 4 vegetative zones. I hope yesterday when we started from down, or the gentleman who came today, we have the mountain forest. Then the second forest is the bamboo, though we did not see a lot of bamboo. Remember I told you people, bamboo has a challenge. Once they flower, they will die for some time, then they resurrect again. But the challenge also, there is succession taking place very fast. We hope bamboo will be there. Then we have the heath, then or acacia zone. Then the last zone where we shall be going tomorrow is the Afro-Alpine or moorland. And in the park, the most beautiful area is the moorland because it's covered up with a number of flowers. We have other flowers like you have been hearing of the everlasting flowers. Everlasting because they are in the year round. They are in the family called Hercrisium. So we have one called Hercrisium brownie, Hercrisium johnstoni, and we have Hercrisium acalia. Somebody was moving with me, I showed the yellow flowers, the patch yellow flowers. Those ones are the one they call Hercrisium acalia. Then the one you saw with the yellow flowers again, after they are covered. Those ones are the johnstoni. Then we shall see the brownie from up there. Those are all flowers beautifying this park. From the mountain side, you rarely see a lot of flowers. There are some few flowers like orchids. There is one called Dilophoenium and what have you. So within the acacia zone, there are some huge plants which can live up to 25 years. These are the senecious. The type we have in Mountain Elgon is endemic to Mountain Elgon. It's called Senecio elegonicis. You know, so some of you have ever been in the Kilimanjaro, you have ever been in Rwenzori. They look more or less the same, but the botanists, they know how they can differentiate, and they know this one is different from the other, either by size, others are smooth, others are a bit rough. And also the flowers can differentiate them. So today we would have even seen, but because of the rain, but tomorrow as we go up, they have large leaves like tobacco. Those are the senecious. Then we have lobelias. I remember from down there, somebody was moving with me. You remember when we had when we were shooting from down there, those ones with a long stalk. Those are called lobelia cubaroa. We have 3 different species of lobelia. We have the lobelia cubaroa, which is within the mountain and bamboo zone. Then up this way, we shall have the giant lobelia, which you also get in Rwenzori, but Rwenzori is very huge. Then we have here the Lobelia elgonicis. Lobelia elgonicis is the teleki, then the giant Lobelia is canensis. Those are some of the botanical names which you may love to know it if you are recording. We are recording that is teleki and canensis. So those are some of the fauna which is within, some of the flora within Mount Elgon. But when I talk of the fauna, we have, up to today, we still have the bush bugs, we have the giant forest hawk, we have the elephants and the buffaloes along the Kenya border. And they normally come to the hot springs, which hot springs has the boiling temperatures of 48 degrees Celsius. And they come there to take salt lick. Within that place, there's a lot of sulfur where elephants, buffaloes, and other animals, they come there. It's only because of the disturbance of the human activities, they normally come at night. So they behave like they are nocturnals. They come at night to do that. Then towards morning, they go to the hiding. Then other species of birds, we have the largest lammergeier, which is endemic, a rare largest lammergeier, which is endemic to Mount Elgon. There are others in Ethiopia, which is a bit different with the one we have here, which is a lammergeier. I think is a German word meaning a vulture, and this one eats even young goats, even young monkeys. Takes up, so leaves it down, comes down to eat just the bone marrow, that oil in the bones. So that one is the lammergeier. Then we have other species of birds. Mount Elgon alone contributes up to 295 different species of birds, ranging from the smallest up to the biggest. That is the lammergeier. We have others which are rare, endemic. Like endemic, we have one, when we were coming up, it was making a lot of noise. That is the Hatlap Churako, which is endemic to Uganda, endemic to Mount Elgon in Uganda. Then we have also little rush warbler, which is also endemic here. Then we have one called oriole finch, which many people come after they get down there, a place called Kakwai Forest Exposition Center, to look at it. But it's very rare to see it, but we have been seeing it. Little rush, no, not, it's called oriole finch. Many birds have come to see that one. Then there is a tree species which I will tell you briefly. There is this tree called Prunus africana, which I think they are in many areas, but we have a lot on Mount Elgon. But this Prunus africana, even these Chinese, they are looking for it a lot. They said it treats many diseases, including prostate cancer in men, then STIs in both sex. So we are trying to protect it a lot. Otherwise, it will one time be extinct.
What is the local name of it?
Prunus africana. Now we call it armodit in my language, but the Bagisu, the Bagisu, they call it gurumat. Almost the same. You depack it, then you get the bark, you boil. When you boil, you would have enough remedy, and your patient, so long as they discover the problem of prostate in the early stages, you will be catheter free. But then for STIs, at any state, it can still treat you. So long as you take the remedy correctly. It has, after boiling, you get a brown remedy, which you take a glass every day, 3 times. You can take it for 1 month. If God wants to wish you to survive, you will survive. But for SDI, that one, when it is stubborn like what, it will go.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a question. You I don't know if you'd be the right person to ask, since you're more of a conservationist and naturalist. You talked about Wagagai, and you said it's named after a lady.
Masaaba, yeah.
Yeah. And that tickled me towards the direction of what's the social structure like in the Gishu and Sabinyi culture, and what role does a woman have to play? I guess they do have quite an important role to play, since you have the highest peak in the region named after a lady. You could maybe let us know. Then the other question that I had was
in terms of traditional setting, who do the Gishu people pray to?
Okay. When you talk of the social part of it, the Bagisu, they honor their ladies a lot. That's why they gave the name of the peak to the ladies' side. And I remember I told you that there was this thing of failing to understand between the whites and the black. And remember by then, these people were still living in the hostile way. So whatever they had told the whites, they had to accept. Because they know the way they had dressed themselves, they were showing themselves they are so courageous, they could do anything to these people. That's why they responded to them to give the lady, because by then ladies had a voice over their men. Remember the Sabinyis, we know the Bagisu as subsistence farmers, they are farmers. Yeah. But the Sabinyis, they were pastoralists, whereby this thing of initiation, it came in the way that for us Sabinyis were a bit selfish, but we were not selfish, they were protecting their territory, whereby they started this thing of called FGM, that is Female Genital Mutilation. Why were they doing that? Being pastoralists, they could move, leaving their families in the settled place, they go far away with their animals. So as they move further, the ladies are at home. No another person will come to encroach because they will not have that desire. I think when only a man has come close to you and share a bed, is when that sense will come. Or tickle your mind to think that I think my partner has come. But it is not easy for another person to come and encroach. And for Bagisu, for them, they were, even up to today, they are very selfish with their ladies. When a Mugisu is moving with the lady is always in front. But for Sabinyis, they can leave it anywhere because they know already they have done the selfish part of it, whereby nobody would wish and steal his wife from behind. And the culture now, the Sabinyis and the Bagisu, they have had intermarriages for quite a long time. And since the current government now stopped the FGM, our daughters are free now to marry almost anywhere in Uganda. But before, when they were still practicing FGM, they were fearing to be talked about in other tribes. But in our place, it was really, if you are, even the Bagisu ladies, they could not get married in our place. If they make a mistake to get married in our tribe, they would force themselves to go through initiation. Because one, there are conditions. You cannot go to the kraal and you collect cow dung to go and use it for smearing in your house. Two, when the old men are discussing, you are not supposed to come close to them. Three, when they are drinking the local marua, it is somebody only who has gone through initiation who will sit with them and they drink together, and it will be the only lady to be refilling the pot. But for you who has not gone, you will be sitting far away from these people. So those are some of the things could force them to go through FGM practice. But for the males, for them, they were doing it because they want to show themselves they are brave to defend their territories. Yeah. Likewise, the Bagisu, we believe that they copied it from the Sabinyis because they say their first grandmom to have them was from the Kalengin side. So that one forced the first husband, to go through circumcision. And why did she force this guy? Because he had also gone through initiation or FGM practice. So he forced the husband to go through it. Then the children, the males, were all circumcised afterward. And that thing has become a culture. I hope you have been hearing of a place called Mutoto in Bale, where in August, in Anavenia, they go to open officially by government the circumcision of the males in Bagisu land.
Interesting.
Is FGM still practiced in Uganda today?
Not very much. If it is there, I think they're hiding. But we believe it is still there in small.
I wanted to find out about the religious structure. You talked about Masaaba, who I guess is one of those big names that you hear out of this region. For me, actually, I thought Masaaba was like a god that you guys pray to or something. That's where I was coming from to ask, what's a religious structure like among the Sabinyi and Gishu people?
And the Gishu, the Sabinyi didn't have that attachment, but the Bagisu, they have it. There is what they are more or less like the Pan-Africanists, whereby the Bagisu, they have that thing. They do sacrifices to in this side of the southern side of the park. The Bagisu, they have that gods believing in it, where they make sacrifices to their Masaaba. Even they can dance around praising Masaaba. As they are doing that, they will all put on white clothes. And when they are doing that, they are condemning the Bible. So for them, as I told you, that they are like Pan-Africanists. They believe in their own culture. When you go to a typical Mugisu home, there are shrines in their homes.
Oh, really?
Even when they are going through this initiation of circumcision, they first go to the shrines and consult the gods. And when they are making these sacrifices, they go to the caves. And if they go to the caves, they first call the ancestor, Masaaba. They call the sister, who was called Sarah. Then they call the brother, Kintu, who went to Muganda and he became Muntu. Kintu. Yeah. Kintu. Yeah, he became Kintu. But here was called Kintu. So they do still believe in that. They do. Was it last year, 2021? I happened to meet with them in one of the caves on the other side of Manava, along Bushi Trail. It was my first time to interact with them. They are very strong believers. You cannot divert them. That they are adapt these Western cultures. Never. They still believe in their old way of living, whereby they kill the goat and suck the blood. They live the live chicken in the wilderness. Even remember, guys, the Baganda also come here and they live the live chickens for their ancestors. Likewise, the Bagisu, they do the same. Yeah, they are very strong with those sacrifices to their gods, and they do that in the case of their sicknesses in their homes.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting. I don't want to be the only one asking the questions, but I'd also like to know how open are they to? Because I know in some parts of Africa, traditional religion is treated as black magic. So I don't know how open are the Gishu people to people coming to them to learn more about their religion, their gods.
They are free.
They are open to it.
There are specific people who deal with that. These days they have commercialized it.
Okay.
They no longer do it in the way it is. So they are behaving out like foretellers through their gods.
Okay.
Yeah. So they are open. There are specific people who do that now, and they are open.
You spoke about the two brothers and a sister. Is it Masaaba and Kintu?
Masaaba and Kintu.
Was there any strife between the two brothers for them to end up having two different kingdoms, considering they came from the same family?
I think Kintu became interested in going to the lowland, whereby he did not end up on the slopes of Mountain Elgon. He went further. Just, by then there was vast land, and one was looking the comfortability, where one would be comfortable to live. And as he moved further, he did not move in one day or in 1 week, in 1 month. He was making generations as he was moving. And when you hear through all this Basoga, Bagwere, Banyole, still they have attachment with the Bagisu. Even now when we talk of the Baganda were there. But when he reached there, he became a brave man, where all other leaders within the Buganda kingdom loved the man, and they said this is a really brave man. And where has he come from? That's why he got the name Kintu. It's something. And he became a very good person, very role model, until they made him a Kabaka. But the brother who remained up here, he also continued. He has several sons, like one called Mambu. Within Mbale, there's one called Mungoko, Wanale. Then he has the last one called Mubuya.
So that's where the Wanale ridge comes from?
Yes. Mubuya is the one who is on the southern side. But the sister crossed the Kenyan side, Sarah.
The one who created another tribe there.
Yeah, called Bagisu.
And those, because there was one time, someone told me a story about the three sons.
The
three sons of
Chintu's brother.
I think so. And because based on the Masaaba, the Bagisus, there are these Bagisus who are in Manafa.
Yes.
And there are these Bagisus
Of North.
Soronko.
Those are, they call North Mbale.
Then there are those that we have in Sipi.
Yes.
Father
I'm
and
understanding you.
yeah.
So now there are 3 brothers, fine. These 3 brothers, the one on the northern side is the one continuing after the one of Sabinyi. You know the one on Sabinyi side, they are all from Buganyanya, Burago. Those are all they call Badadiri. From Badadiri here going this side. Those are Bagisu of North Mbale. Then Central is the one of Bungoko, after Wanale. Then after the other side. So from the other side is the Mubuya now. For them they call Babuya, but it's the Mubuya's sons. Those are after the border. What?
In the south.
Huh?
Those in the south.
Yeah, those are from South Mbale. But this one, all these in the middle, those are the one they call Mungoko. Those are the Mungoko's descendants. But there were 3 sons, as you have said.
Yeah.
They're separated into 3 in short.
Yeah.
So they speak
Kind of different.
Dialect, yes, but the same.
dialect.
What is your
Masaaba? Those who are in Mbale, they speak Masaaba.
Yes.
And those ones who are in
They all speak Masaaba, but the dialect is breaking. Yeah.
I mean, the other one is Kong.
Cool.
Like it's
The
original.
No,
The one,
the central one.
yeah, the central ones. They're doing
The Mungoko's sons. Yeah.
That is the one that has the original Bagisu.
Behavior.
Yeah. Whereas these other ones, it's like the mix.
Yeah,
So where are these brothers from?
The paper?
What?
Which paper?
The elder son is the one they call Mwambu, who has produced the northerners, the northern side of Bagisu. Then the second son is Mubuya from south. The third son is Mungoko. Yeah, that's the third son. They are all the children of Masaaba. So Masaaba named this first son Mwambu. The second son Mubuya. The third son Mungoko.
So they also moved there from home and went and
Of course, they have all lived adjacent to the park or the Mountain Elgon, where facing their origin. You know, for them, even when they are burying them, they bury them facing the mountain. Even time of circumcision, they stand facing the mountain.
all of them.
All of them. Anything they do, they face them.
Semeka kunguwaza Mugisu.
No, in Muganda.
From Uganda, but he was
From the Kintu
But Alex,
Yes.
you talk anyway. I don't know if I could call it patriotism, but patriotism in light of tribes and cultures.
Yeah.
You talk quite highly of the people of this area. I don't know, and I know, but the Muganda are very passionate about their culture as well.
Yeah.
I don't know if their story would be the same in light of the origins of Kintu and.
They have been coming here to see the ancestor home. Tomorrow, remind me tomorrow I will show you Kintu's cave. The Baganda, almost every year, they come up here to do rituals in commemoration of their ancestors.
This is not myth.
It's not.
Yeah.
They come here. Lively, they come here. I told you that they come with live goats, live hens, live. I even leave a lot of money here. Yeah. They, when they come with 2019 around there, they came with a cow, a bull, and left up here. Up to the mountain.
That then also.
They don't even come in a cheap way. They come in an expensive way. Remember, they pay all park dues. They pay a lot of money to these potters. They pay everything, even feeding them.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of jubilation when they are up here.
Wow.
In celebration of you.
Yes.
Question, now my question. Why does he have a cave here? If he said it's in Muganda.
Of course, he went when he was a grown-up person. He did not go when he was a baby, no. And you know, with history, there are some imaginations which you can take it either true or false.
Subject for more research.
Yeah.
So does what I'm trying to corroborate the
Bagisu and the Baganda.
The Muganda legend around Kintu and the legend that we've just heard from you around Kintu originating in Bagisu. I'd like to know, Masaaba, the name, does it have a meaning?
Masaaba.
Yes, the name.
I don't know if there's any meaning with the name Masaaba, but the only thing I know Masaaba is the first Mugisu.
So you would call him a god?
The founder, or the founder of the culture, the founder of the tribe.
That's why it would kind of make sense for me. The Buganda legend also starts with
the Kintu originated from here to go to Buganda to be Muntu.
Okay.
And because they believe that the Masaaba was the father. Yeah.
The two stories kind of make sense. If the Gishu pray to Masaaba,
Do you know that these people, the Bagisu and they are all Bantus, but there are words they can share in common. Though the Baganda, after reaching now in Central, they must have had intermarriage with, by then you remember during time of slavery, the Arabs came and dominated within Campfire. When they reached the Tanzanians, they are, again, we believe that the Bantus came from the Congo, what have you. So you realize that, and all along here, they say many people who are living in Uganda came following the Nile. So all those things, and like the Kalenjins, those the Sabinyis, they believe that they originated from Middle East in a place called Jericho. Jericho is where civilization started in the Middle East, and they say it's a Kalenjin who initiated sleeping in the house. Because that place is a very hot place, and all people are sleeping out in like gods. But when the tourists started coming to see that place, because the civilization was big, so they had made shelters where people, they call them come and sleep inside. But in the language, Chowerugo, come and sleep inside. So they ended up calling that place Jericho. So they crossed Red Sea. By then, there was no sea. The place was land. Then they came and crossed to Ethiopian island. They settled there. Many of the Kalenjins were left in, even the circumcision, we came and introduced it here. We came as Jews. And we came,
Jews.
yeah. We believe that maybe we were Jews. We came and introduced it here. And we left even the Somalis. The Somalis are still also part of the Kalenjin.
Hey.
Yes.
Interesting.
But for them, they said, for them to turn themselves to become Muslims is because when they reach in Somaliland, of course they settled for some time.
Yeah.
But they had their leaders, and these leaders were like prophets. So they had prophesied. They were still moving. So when they called for a meeting, those who became Somalis, they had gone to drink. They were called several times, come, we are sitting for a meeting, until when they reached a point, the leaders said we no longer need these people in our group. So they had their meeting and they finalized their movement. By the time when these people came, they said, you people don't come close to us. You are no longer part of this generation. You are different people now. We are leaving you here. So the Somalis, even we believe that that's why they are cast up to today. Those ancestors cast the Somalis before they left them. And they will never get peace. And the other cultures, like the FGM. You know Somalis are doing FGM?
Yeah.
The Somalis, the typical Somalis,
Female genital
they
mutilation.
do FGM, genital mutilation. And now for them, after all that, they were annoyed. They said it's because of this booze. That's why we have missed our generation. They intermarried with the Arabs and the coastal people. They became Muslims. But if you see Ethiopians, Somalis, and the typical Kalenjins, who original people, we are the same. And the way, if we go to the language we had before, we are things we share with the Somalis. Like 1,000, we call Pakol. The Somalis also call the same. Pakol, the Ethiopians the same. You remember in some few years, maybe 10 or 15 years, there are Somalis, there are Ethiopians who went back to Israel as the Jews, the black Jews. They went back. And if you remember this people, they call the Bakeles who ran the marathoners, we are the same. Even these Kenyans who are running from Kenya, same. Now you see even the Joshua Steptegei, Kibrote, we are the same generation with them.
Thanks, Alex.
Anyway, there are things which takes time one to understand,
Yeah.
but there are things which are real.
Yeah, thanks for a nice story around the campfire. Thank you very much.
So yes guys, that's going to be it for today. I hope you enjoyed this fantastic episode as much as I did. If you did, go ahead and hit the like button, share the link in your circles, and let's get this conversation beyond this platform. For those that just can't have enough and would like more of such conversations, be sure to subscribe to the podcast. Those listening on Apple Podcasts will actually be able to leave a star rating and review on the podcast. I request that you keep doing that, as it really helps us get up the charts and it recommends the show to many more people. The podcast is now available on all major streaming platforms, including Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio for those tuning in the US. It's also available on TuneIn, Pandora, Castbox, Deezer, and several other platforms. As always, if you'd like to make a contribution to the conversation or send in a question, you can email me directly at contact@jonathanbenaya.com or use the email ahabenathan@pm.me. Both emails will be linked in the podcast notes below. I also would like to once again say a very big thanks to our Patreons. It's through your pledges that we're able to keep this show alive and running. And just finally, I'd like to make a special shout out to Alex from Mountain Elgon and all the awesome men and women who made our hike and stay in the mountains a very, very memorable one. And with that said, I'd like to wish you all happy travels. And as I always say, please keep them responsible. Last but not least, don't have a good week. Have a great one. And I'll see you in the next one.